Hello, welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. Today I'm going to be doing a pretty kind of abstract birch trees with some really nice colors on it. One of the things I like about this is that you can add whatever colors you like, you can dress it up as you like. I even put some glitter on the trunks of the trees, okay? Not sure if we're gonna be able to see it, but maybe later I can hold it up and move it back and forth, and hopefully you can see some of that little glitter on there. I didn't want it to look real crafty, but I did want to have some really beautiful colors in there. So I just want to show you the products I'm using so far. I'm going to jump right in. I have a lot of painting to do, and I am using a beautiful acrylic primed cotton red label canvas from Fredericks, okay? Really, really sturdy canvas. These are my go-to canvases. This is a wrapped canvas, okay? It's different than my example. My example is on a flat panel canvas, because when I do my little experiments at home, I try to find some inexpensive canvases, and they're a little cheaper than these, okay? So I'm gonna put this aside. I already have one up on my easel, and I'm going to jump in and show you some of my paints first. I'm using Americana Premium. I'm using the Americana Deco Arts, all Deco Art products. These are Traditions. I'm even using some Galaxy glitter paint, okay, which is fun. It's a transparent paint, and it has the glitter in it of the color that's on the top. This one is actually called Silver Moon, okay, so that's a lot of fun. Now, I'm using first a flat brush, okay? This is a 3/4 Traditions flat brush, and I want to get these nice lines up and down, just kind of like an illusion of a background of trees, not the background of trees, I'm sorry, background that perhaps the sky would be showing through trees, you know, just an illusion. So that phthalo blue that I'll be using in this is very, very rich. The pigment is fantastic, so I only need a tiny bit, all right? So I'm going to first just load up a lot of white. I'm going to move these paints out of the way because I do want to show you my palette, which I don't have in any particular order, okay? I see a little something on there. I just wiped that off. So I actually have a lot of paint on here. I probably don't need this much paint because the paint goes a long way, but rather than me fuss around opening stuff up during the show, I always put extra, okay? But don't use that much. You don't want to waste it. So I am just loading my brush up with white right now. Put a lot of paint on there, and just a little bit of blue, and actually that might be a lot of blue. And you can see by my other painting, all I did was come back and forth like this, all right? And I'm going to go back and forth between the blue and the white. But unlike my other shows where I blend, I'm not going to blend that much. Okay, reason is I like the idea of having these streaks in here. Look how cool that looks with those streaks. So I put that one section of blue, and I'm just kind of going over it and around it. And like I said, I don't want to go over and over. I like the streaks. This you need a little bit extra paint for, because we're just going to do like one layer going back and forth like this. Okay, back and forth. I want to fill that tooth in, so I see some of that tooth is not filled in, but you can see that I'm just going and picking up more paint, all right? So my easel on the bottom is a little bit close. So at home you could move it out of the way. I'm not going to take the time now to move that out of the way. All right, I want to make sure that I get to show you this whole painting. And again, just filling my brush with a lot of paint. All right, and up and down, up and down. Now, I'm not washing the brush at all. I'm just going into a little bit of blue and mostly white. Like I said, this blue goes a long, long way. The Tradition paint, they're little bottles. A lot of those are little bottles if you want to try certain colors, but they do go a long way. So don't be discouraged saying, oh, that's, you know, the bottle is too small. You can do a lot with that little bottle. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of a, I think it's a raw sienna. Let me just take a peek here, and this is a raw sienna, all right? I just want to get a little bit of that kind of goldish brown in there in the middle, all right? And again, now I'm not washing out my brush, just the idea of getting a little bit of a contrast now. And back to the white, back to the white. Now, I'm going back and forth, and you might be saying to yourself, oh, I should just put more paint on to begin with. The reason I'm not is I want the paint to start to dry a little bit before I go on to putting the trees on there. All right? So, white again. Maybe a little bit more brown. I want to make sure you see it better. A little, I'm sorry, raw sienna, it's not brown. Okay, very pretty. Very pretty. So I'm going to go back to the blue and the white together, and you'll see how that's going to really make that stand out more. Okay, so there is blue, blue, white, blue, white. Again, I am not loading the paint that much with the brush, that much with paint, because I want it to dry, at least stick up a little bit, get a little bit sticky, so I can get those birch trees on without picking up too much of the background color. And if that happens, that's okay. It happened when I did it at home, when I practiced, and it's fine. If it picks up a little, it's still gonna look pretty. Like I said, this isn't abstract. And what I mean by abstract is you don't have to worry about it. It's an illusion of the trees. It's not a realist painting where you would say, oh, it looks like a photograph. And I have a little bit of dry paint in there, and that's probably my fault. I did let my paint sit a couple minutes before I started using it, okay, and maybe a little bit too long. Now I'm gonna stand back and take a peek at this and see if I wanna add any more blue, because I see it's pretty pale and I might want it a little darker. All right, and at home, like I said, you can work on it. You don't have to go this fast. It looks like I have just that one streak of blue, and I think I want a little more blue over here. So all I did was go back in that blue, and I like the streaky look. All right, I do like that streaky look. So it's already starting to dry, and that's good. And I'm pushing a little bit hard. I'm not doing a really, really light stroke because I want to make sure it gets in there, coming right into where this brown is, the raw sienna. And as long as I still have those streaks, that's what I like. Going back into the white. I want to get some streaks of that white in there. And here, to me, looks a little dry, so I'm just going to go back over again. All right, now I will stand back. I think it looks pretty, okay? Believe it or not, you can use it just like that. You can just do paintings like this and hang them on your walls to match your house, and it's just beautiful. All right, and anybody can do this. Just the idea of going back and forth. Again, a little dry in there. And I do like that blue streak. So I'm going to leave that just as it is. I like the way that looks. Never going to do the same as I did before, but we're going to get just a little close with that idea of getting all those pretty colors in. All right, so first thing, I want to put this brush in the water, and I'm going to rub on the bottom of my little basin here, and there's some gritting down there, and I want to make sure I rub it back and forth to get that paint out of the ferrule. Now, I did it a few times, but I can see it's still in there. So I'm going to hold the brush at another angle, and I'm still going to go back and forth until I hear it. Okay, and then I will take a paper towel and wipe it out, all right, and double check it. And there we go, clean brush. I'm just going to do this with my fingers, get that chisel edge back again, and that's ready for when I want to use it again. All right, so you do want to take care of your brushes. That's the way that they will last you for years. So let me see, I see it's a little shiny still. It is starting to tack up, but I'll just get started and see how we do. All right, so now I'm going to use, this is a number 10 Deco Art Traditions brush, and I'm just going to start placing in my birch trees. All right, and I'm going to use straight white. Reason I'm just using straight white is chances are it is going to pick up some of that color in the background, okay? So this is it, just coming in, and I'm just going to start placing them. So you can see that I am picking up some of the color in the back, and it's not covering so much because it's still a little wet back there. That's fine, all right? Some of them could be brighter white, and some don't have to be that white, all right? Like I said, an abstract, you don't have to worry about it. So I am going to come up, and I'm going to overlap some of these. All right, gonna overlap. Now that picked up a lot of blue, and that's okay. I'm just wiping my brush out, going into some fresh white, and all I have to do is go back over it. All right, there we go. So see what I'm doing? It is a little blue, so then I'll move on, and then I can just go back to that. So I can see in the middle it's not quite as wet. Now at home you can wait for it to dry, but you don't have to. Okay, now see up there's a little drier and that paint's sticking a little better? There we go. So that's a little bit more what I wanted, like that. All right, and I'm going to put in just some random trunks. Now, I'm going to make them different sizes. Some will be not as thick as other ones, all right? And just to give it a little bit of varied interest. We don't want to have any patterns. We don't want everything looking the same. And I'm just going back and forth from to my paint. I'm having a little trouble because of the easel on the bottom. That's okay though, because I could just come back like this. I'll just fix it up a little bit. Okay, so you can see if you think that this is going to be birch trees and you say it's birch trees, it's already starting to look like trees. So that's the little trick. And I'm coming from the top and just holding the brush on the chisel edge, and I am pushing down a little. All right, and I'm coming back up again. So I am wiping the brush off, just wiping it back and forth to get some of the blue and the other colors off. Now that's a little bit it picked up a little too much in here, so that's okay, I'll move over. By the time I get to the end, I can come back to the other end. So again, I'm pushing, turning the brush, a lot of blue in there, coming back, wiping off. So for this, you need a pretty decent amount of white. But like I said, the tubes go a long way, and this is the premium titanium white. There we go. Okay. Now you might ask, how come I'm not using a medium? I don't see any reason to use the medium. It'll just make it. It won't make the paint stick as much. It'll move around. So for me to do in this amount of time, I like the idea of not using the medium. Now, if I was at home and I was going to take a couple hours on this, then maybe I would use the medium. All right. So let's see. Let's get a couple coming in from the side. See, I like the idea that they show a little bit more where the blue is darker and less where it's lighter. So this is how you get a big variety. All right. You do want variety. I'm trying not to have the angles the same or even the thickness. If I see that it looks too much symmetrical, I'll go back in and change it. All right, so I need to get a couple of branches that come in from the side. All right, I see I picked up other colors. So now I want to overlap. All right, I have them come in from the side. And I'm just kind of thinking of a V. You know, when you see the branches, the branches usually come up like V's and Y's, all right? And if you have that in your mind, you won't have, you'll have everything kind of going straighter, all right? So see how that white picked up more? Now, you can do this with different brushes, all right? You don't have to use the straight brush, the flat brush, sorry. I call it a straight brush sometimes. All right, so I'm going back over where that blue was, and see it dried up a little more, and now look, it picked up the white again, and that's what I like. Over here you can't see it so much, and that's okay. Because we're gonna be putting a lot of colors on top. So this is all gonna be in the background. I wanna get this a little whiter, and I'm gonna stand back and see if I have enough, okay? So I think a few more. I'm gonna put this brush down for 1 minute. I have a round brush. I wanna show you about the round brush. So I'm just rolling it, and what you can do with the round brush is you could just come up like this and pull it up. All right, so it just depends on what you have accessible. Try both, okay? If you try both, then at least you'll know which you feel more comfortable with. The main thing with this is find what you're comfortable with, and you'll like your painting better, and you'll be more rewarded. All right, so let me take a look at my other one, and I'm gonna go back to my straight brush. I actually like to use the straight brush better for this. All right, and I wanna come out a little bit on the side here. Have a couple more. And like I said, since I have a varied colored background, some of the white looks brighter in certain areas, and other areas it doesn't. And I like that like that. It gave a little variation to it. So, a couple more. And I'm going to start getting some colored bark on these trees, okay? There we go. I may have more this time than last time, but at least I showed you all that. Let me just take a look at one thing. These, to me, look like it's grouped. So what I want to do is I want to come in and break up that grouping there. Okay, see the difference? So if you look back and you see the group, and then I just changed the group, all right? So that helps. All right, putting my brush in the water. As long as it stays wet, I can wash that out when I'm done. What I want to do is I'm just taking this is a 1/8 angle brush. It's tiny, okay, I might want to use a bigger one. I want to get a little bit of coloration on these trees. Now, I'm just doing it random, all right? I'm just coming in and putting some color. I have a little bit of extra paint on there, and I'm just going to come with the angle and pull it to the side, all right? So let's see, I'm gonna move out of the way. I wanna make sure you could see that I just put some paint on there, and I'm just pulling it to the side gently, very gently. I'm letting the canvas and the paint that's underneath pull it whichever way it wants to, okay? So not really pull it, but it's sticking, it's actually sticking. But it's by the canvas, the natural weave of the canvas, it's putting it where it wants, okay? Because that I don't have too much control of, because underneath it's wet, dry in areas, you know, certain areas are wet, certain areas are dry. Okay, so of course it's going to stick differently. So I'm letting it run out of paint, so this way we have dark light, all right? So like I said, I like to use the angle brush for this. If you have a fan brush, you can even use a fan brush. All right, so I'm wobbling a little bit there, and that's okay. I'm gonna try to anchor my hand a little. You can see I'm just coming in now, pulling it over, and you can see where it's wetter, it's sticking more, okay? And just pulling it over. And I'm just putting it random right now, then I'll step back. Now that's a little drier, I like the way that looks. So since I know that that's a little drier, I can come over here. And I'm getting different values of this same brown, okay? So I'm just kind of coloring, but you can see, I'm gonna do it again, just kind of making a little line, then coming back and pulling it over. And this is going to help separate the trees as well. Now again, I wanna make sure I'm not doing any type of pattern. I wanna make sure that my lengths are different. So I want different lengths and different areas, all right? So let me come over and come up here. I'll just do a little one up here, pull it over. You can see I'm just kind of finding spots. That was dark up there, that's okay. Let me come down here. Again, I'm wobbling a little there with my hand. So I'm gonna try to anchor it. See, I'm just kind of holding my hand to give me a little stability. All right, I don't have anything down at the bottom on these trees. So I'll come down, put a little bit. See, I'm trying to do different amounts. So 1 inch here, 2 inches there, some dark, some lighter, depending on how it's being picked up, okay? So now my brush is really, really dry. I'll just go wipe it off, come back, load it again with paint. I don't have anything up here. So there's my little line, and then pulling it. Now, I like to do this when the paint is wet because it pulls some of that white in there. All right, see, making a little line, pulling it over. Now, the other thing you can do is just come in and do a little splotch like this here and there. Just pull it over a couple times. All right, I want to do it up there because that was so white you couldn't even see this here. So this way it shows the tree is there. But like I said, you could just come in and do a little bit, just like this. Now this tree, on that tree, it's awful light on all the sections. So I'll come in with some fresher paint, a little bit too much on the tip there. Again, I did it twice. Gonna wipe that off. I keep picking up paint on that tip where I didn't want it. And it could be because of my angle. All right, so I might have enough now. And like I said, this will help separate the trees. All right. I'm gonna stand back, see if I missed anything, or make sure I didn't put too much on one side and none on the other side. I can see in here, I don't have anything in here. And you always have to stand back. It's better to stand back so I can anchor my finger, but since the paint is wet, I am gonna get the paint on my finger there. So there's a couple different ways you can kind of anchor, all right? Whichever you're more comfortable with. But notice I'm just putting this on one side. You can go from both sides and put on your little colored bark, but you don't have to. All right, so you can come in, just put some plain lines. I do like the idea of pulling it over though. I think it's very important when you're doing the birch trees to pull it. It'll give the trees a little bit of a roundness. All right, and I can pull some all the way over and some halfway across the trunk. So like I said, keep doing a little variation and move around your painting. Don't stay in one spot, just move around. Okay, let me take a look. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to put that brush in the water. Now, I want to wash it out. I just realized I actually used this brush again. So I'm going to wash it out just a little bit, doesn't matter. What I want to do is I want to start layering my, my abstract leaves. All right, so the first color I believe I started with was the raw sienna. Now this is simple. I'm just dunking in the paint, and I can see I got in that ferrule, which I'll make sure I get it out, like I always say in every show. And I'm just going to come in and flip-flop my paint in here. Now, again, I don't want a pattern. I don't want to cover up all the branches, but I'm going to put some of this paint here and there. You could always go back and add more, and I want this to be like in clusters. All right, I'm not going to scatter the paint all over. I want it like clusters, like you would see on a tree. Now, of course, the birch tree may not have these colors, but like I said, it's abstract. You could add any colors you want, all right? You could do your painting as you want. Now, I am loading the paint with the brush with paint because I actually do want it thicker. I like the idea of having a little bit of that texture. Now, the other thing you can do is DecoArt has different kinds of texture mediums, and you can make this paint thick, and you could do it with a palette knife, which I've done on other shows if you want to look up the palette knife paintings that I did. And those come out really, really nice too. It's just a different process, okay? So I'm just flipping this back and forth. I'm going, you can see I'm going over some of the trunk, okay? Some of the trunk. I want to stand back and see where I'm going there with this. Okay, so of course the first couple of strokes comes out thicker, all right? You can see I'm just kind of, if I got too big on there, it's okay. I could just, you know, I want it to be varied again. So if I see that I have a pattern, I see I have a pattern. So what I'll do is I'll go and break up that pattern, okay? I'll make sure that I start to do something someplace else to break up that pattern. We don't want a pattern. We want the viewer's eye to look at the whole painting and not just focus on one spot. Now, when you do focus or your eye moves into one spot, the focal point, this is not that type of painting. I'm not really doing a focal point. All right, I could make this middle really bright so the viewer's eye would be drawn right into the middle, but for this beginner painting, I just wanted to show you the process of how you can make this kind of painting. Very, very pretty, very easy. It's just the method of it. You want to go in the order that I'm telling you, and that's what's going to help you. Like I said, this is no rhyme or reason doing this. I'm just loading the brush, and you can see him dabbing it, just dabbing. All right, so I'm going to stand back. That's looking pretty good. It's going to look a lot better once we get the other colors on. So I'm just going to wash this out a little bit. I'm not worried about it, all right? And I think the next color I'm going to go to is this beautiful yellow. This is a hard to mix yellow. So this one is a really good one just to buy as is. I'm going to show this to you, and I don't know how to say it. It looks like Diary Lide yellow, D-I-A-R-Y-L-I-D-E. So that's a hard to mix color. So if you like that color, you have to buy that one as is. It's kind of like a yellow mustardy color, and you can find colors like it, but not as nice as this one, okay? This pigment in here is really pretty, and you can see how this is really, really brightening it up, all right? So I'm just gonna hurry along here and get some of this yellow on. I'm doing it the same way, but I'm kind of paying less attention to it now because I already have my base on there and where they are, my leaves. So I'm just kind of going near it, and you can see I'm coming out from it. I'm putting some right on top and just moving some out just for a little variation, all right? And I'm going back again to my yellow. Again, when I put paint on my palette, I always put too much on my show. This way I don't have to take the time to put more, But when you're doing your paintings at home, and if you're following me along, put half of what I put, because you won't need all of it. It just, I never know if I have to change something, and you know, so I always put extra out, but don't waste your paint, all right? Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Stand it back again. Now, wait till you see the difference once I put the red on there. This is what really makes it. That red is what really does it, all right? So I'll be a little more careful with the red. I may not want to put as much. If I go on that yellow, of course, it's going to turn orange, and that's okay. But I will try to stay a little bit away from the yellow. That's why I do have some vivid red, okay? Again, just flip-flopping, pushing the brush down. All right, that's it. Now, I want to do a little bit more red, and I'm going to stand back and see. I'm going to add less red than the other colors. Now, I want you to look at this side of the painting and then look at that side. See the difference? Big difference once you add this pop of color in. Now, I want you to think of what other colors you can use, okay? It's an abstract painting. You can use any colors you want. I just like the way these all look together. All righty. So I have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to get some more red on, and I want to show you the last step. There we go. I see a little pattern, so look, I'm going to bring the red down. All right. So at home, you'll pay more attention. Make sure you don't have a pattern. I think it looks pretty good. I probably am making a little bit of a pattern, which I don't mean to, so it's okay. I could come down like this, and if I bring some down and spread it out more, that'll break up the pattern, okay? Then all I have to do is wipe the brush off, and I can just go back to my other colors, all right? And that will break up the pattern, all right? So, like I said, take your time at home, all right? I'm going to show you the last step of this, which is pretty surprising. I have this, which I showed you before, this Silver Moon Galaxy glitter, which you wouldn't think maybe would go with this, but when I put it on, it looks so pretty, okay? I'm hoping that you can see it a little in my other painting. I don't want to jump around the table to show you. So all I'm doing is just loading up this brush with the Galaxy glitter, and I'm just coming here randomly, and I'm going to lay it on, okay? Because you know it has those pieces in there. So I'm just going to lay it on, laying it on pretty thick. I got it too much in my ferrule. I'm going back to my brush. All right, now you may say, how come I didn't do this before? Because then it would have got all mixed up with the my leaves, all right? And I really didn't want too much out of this. I didn't want this painting to look like real crafty. I just wanted to get a little bit of glitter in these trunks, just to make it look a little bit more whimsical, I guess, and a little more abstract. But I didn't want to get crazy with it either, all right? And this is great to do a lot of different projects. And it really adds to this. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I know you get the idea of this. Get that Galaxy glitter and put it on, because it does make a difference. You wouldn't think that it doesn't, but it really does. It really does. It just brings this nice shine to it. So maybe what I'll do is, just to show you before I go, is I'm going to take this off, and hopefully we can see that. So last thing I do is I put on that triple thick varnish, and there you go. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you like this project, and come back and paint with me again.